Welcome to the Loveall Sales podcast. Today is going to be it's going to be a very strong message. The reason why I say it's going to be a strong message is because I try to learn from every experience that I go through. One of the experiences that I'm currently going through is cancer. It's the second time that I've battled it, rectal cancer. The first time I had 8 rounds of chemo. I had, on top of that, radiation chemo pills. Battled that for almost a year, and I'd say probably about 7, 8 months actually. And then after that, they told me that the cancer was gone. 5 months later, where you got to keep going back to the hospital and doing like signatory tests and blood work. And they said, the doctor said that, the cancer is back in my blood. So found out that the cancer came back. And, from a standpoint of just mentally, it's so much. But it also put me on the path to starting my own business, my sales training company. So it was a blessing in disguise because over the last 6 months, we have exploded in the terms of like how many dealerships we're training, how many students we're training, the success stories of, dealerships and students that they're having. So it was a blessing in disguise because I no longer work inside a dealership. I am necessarily training salespeople, how to become the better version of themselves, becoming better. But something that I learned last week will forever stay in my mind because the first time that I went through cancer and had those 8 rounds, every single time that I completed a round, it was called Fox. I forgot the names, but like the technical name, but basically it was called Fox. I remember that. And it pushed me to my limit. And when I say push me to my limit, I mean like I one or two times, like a few hours before the chemo was really done, meaning like pumping into my blood. I have a port right here, and it would just pump, 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 and it would push me to my limit so much. Where a few times I'm like, "Baby, just take it off. Like I'm done." Like I remember, like I couldn't even have the energy to. We have a tall bed and I couldn't even really have the energy to climb into my bed, so my wife would have to help me. I remember the one thing, even after the treatments, is something that really helped me was Epsom salt baths. And I remember like having to need help to get in and out of the bath. And I remember multiple times where once I get out of the bath, like I really didn't even want to walk another 20, probably another 15 steps to my bed, where I literally would just lay down on right beside the bath and I would just pass out for like hours. And my wife, yeah, she would check on me. But yet again, like that's how draining it was. So from a mental standpoint, it'll push you to your limit, or it did me at least. And from a physical standpoint, it pushes you beyond your limits. So I, again, recently found out that I had cancer again. And at first, the doctors were telling me that, they would recommend surgery. And it took me a while to accept it. The reason why it took me a while to accept it is because they told me, like, I'm not going to get into technical, but basically, like, they're going to remove a proportion of your basically like your valve where your poop gets held. So when that happens, when you gotta go, you gotta go. There's no more like holding it or you're going to on yourself basically. And I've got two small kids. We travel a lot. I'm always on the move, meaning I'm not the one just to sit. I'm high metabolism. I go, 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 go. That's just me. And it really, from a mental standpoint, it messed with me in the terms of like, I didn't want to go to Disney. I didn't want to go to certain places, and then my kids sees me possibly, crap myself. So from a mental standpoint, it took me a while to truly accept that, what, I need to do surgery. And I tried alternative medicines. I tried ivermectin and fenbendazole. And I might have not pronounced the second word correctly, but I knew I did the first one. And I reached out to a Canadian company, all family pharmacy, and they were like, "Yeah, we can help you." That you tell them your weight, your height. They recommend this, and it's pills that you got to take every day. And deep down inside, like I was hoping I would say it every day, I'm beating cancer, I'm beating cancer, I'm beating cancer. And I was just really hoping that, I would beat it with not having to do surgery. Well, that didn't happen. And so then I just mentally accepted, you know what, I'm going to do surgery. And once I did that, I go meet with the doctor that's going to do it, and he's explaining it's where everything is positioned, it's going to be a very intense surgery. It's going to be 7, 8, 9 hours. And I'm like, my God. And then you got to wrap your head around that. And then he was like, well, we're going to get together with the tumor board and then we're going to put basically a game plan together. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I'm just ready for surgery. And then they come back and they're like, well, we need to do more rounds of chemo before the surgery. And I'm like, son of a gun. And so then you mentally have to just yeah, I got to do that now because I got a family. I want to live longer. I don't want to just give up. No one, very few people. Some people say that I'm not going to do, chemo. I'm not going to do surgery, and they just, try alternative medicines. And some people that I've found through groups of people having cancer, it's worked for them. Well, unfortunately, as of right now, so far, it hasn't worked for me. So what I did was I was like, all right, cool, I'm gonna do chemo, and he was like, well, this one's gonna be more intense, and I was like, all right, well, the last one was like, oh my God, and he was like, well, this one, it's going to be harder. This one's called Fury, and I'm like, frick, then just the name itself, scares you, and I'm like, Fury, oh my goodness, and I did my first round of that, and it was way more intense than Fox, the first type of chemo. And when I say like I didn't even get out, so when you go to the hospital, I said, you go in there, and me personally, I just dread it every time because I know what it does, and I can feel it just pumping into your body of just like toxins. And, for the past, since I found out I had cancer, I changed my diet. So I'm thinner. I think I feel like more stuff like inside my body, as weird as that sounds. Like I just, I no longer eat a lot of sugars like I used to. I eat a lot healthier. Am I still perfect? No. But yet again, I eat a lot cleaner than I used to. And it has made me feel a lot better. And I lost a good bit of weight. I'm only 140 now. I was only 160 back then. So I'm still small, 5'6", 5'7". And the first time I did that Fury, it was like, oh my God. I didn't even, like, within the first 30 minutes, 45 an hour of getting it pumped into me, like, my coping mechanism at the hospital is I shut the door and I turn the lights off because you have other people around you that, they're getting the same thing done, and they're some younger, some older, some of them open the doors, some of them close the doors. And it was more like it was more like where people, like, I was vulnerable and I didn't want to let people see me that I was vulnerable is probably a good way to put it. So I would close the doors, turn off the lights, and my coping mechanism was like I would just rock, like I'd close my eyes and I'd just rock, and I was just kind of like trying to protect myself. And then I did that like the Friday before Christmas was my first treatment through Fury. And even on, like, we go to church every Sunday, me and my family. So day before Christmas, a lot of people go to church. And I remember like going to church and like just crying and crying and crying. Like I couldn't stop myself. I was like, I keep, it made me think about death so much. Not like I'm going to hurt myself, but it was mainly about just just thinking the bigger picture. Like, God forbid if something happens, what's going to happen to my family? How are they going to live? You just think about all of that stuff, or I did at least. And then, even the next day, Christmas, I really wasn't myself because this is basically 6 days afterwards, and it still messed me up. And it probably took me about a week and a half to truly like get through that fury. It probably took me about 2 weeks, maybe a little bit longer to get my energy back or like I'm fully like 100% me. So that was my first experience with fury. And I kept telling myself, I was like, I can't do this again. I can't do this again. And one day, like I was literally just praying and I was like, this is what I got to do, you know? And I told myself, like, I made goals and I changed my perspective. And usually my wife drove me to the hospital. So I made some goals. And this is the main reason why I'm making this podcast is this episode, is because I wanted to share how important your perspective truly is. So I made it a goal, many goals. My first goal was instead of my wife driving me to the hospital to get the cancer treatment, to get the chemo, I was going to drive myself. And I made a goal of not really driving slow or the speed limit. I was going to race to the hospital. So I raced to the hospital, not like super fast, but like, more than the speed limit. And I was basically telling myself, like, I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. I'm ready for this. Like, I was just hyping myself up. And I get there, and then my mind, because you meet your doctor typically before that, and I met him, and I was just telling him like all of the bad stuff, like I remember, and then I'm like, what am I doing? Like I'm amping myself up, and now I'm psyching myself up. So I'm like, all right, I'm going back into the mode. So I told him, I was like, yep, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. Because I told him, I was like, I don't know if I can do this again. And I hyped myself back up. I left the lights on. Like I'll never forget this. Like when you go in this room, you're in there by yourself. You walk into or ours are at least a brown recliner. Usually I reclined this time. I was like, I'm not doing it. I changed everything. And the medicine they give you once it starts pumping, it tastes so bad in your mouth, like the worst that you can, like it's the worst. So I don't like lemon heads, but that's something that they give you to kind of deter and get the taste out of your mouth. So I'm sucking on lemon heads. And I'll remember it the first time when I beat cancer, I was like, I'll never suck on a damn another lemon head again. And the first time that I did cure a Fury, I was like, here I am sucking on another damn lemon head in this brown chair again. But going back to it, like so I changed everything. Like I raced to the hospital. I didn't position myself back. I left the door open. I kept the lights on. Like whatever it was, I was like, all right, like I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this. I'm fighting this. Like so many times I would catch myself like trying to like start rocking. I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it because I know once I start rocking, then I'm going to go down like in a downward spiral. And I'm like, not doing it, not doing it. And it just, I fought it off and I fought it off. And because I fought it off, it made me extremely tired. But I was like, nope, nope, I'm not doing it. So your perspective is everything. Like, it's everything in this world, in sales and real life, whatever you're experiencing, you have to change your perspective. And thank God that I did because it was the best treatment that I've ever had doing chemo by doing it that way. And I'll kind of go on and expand from that. So I even worked. I was making sales calls. I was on my laptop, I should say my iPad, working, building a company, doing all of this while getting a chemo treatment, while getting Fury pumped into me. And I just kept working and working. And then next thing I know, the nurse comes in. She was like, all right, you're done. I'm like, what? I'm done? She's like, yeah, and don't get me wrong, that doesn't mean you're done. They still got to put a strap to you with more chemo going through your body for the next 46 hours. So you still go home for another 2 days and get more, toxins just pumped into you. But I kept telling myself, like, I would feel that these toxins are coming in, but yet again, like I told myself, like this is medicine. This is making me feel better. And like I just changed my perspective on every single thing, and it helped so much. I made it a goal that I was not going to have my wife help me walk outside to my car, and she didn't. Like I walked out on my own. Told myself that I was going to get in my car on my own, which she drove because definitely not in the right state of mind to drive. But I at least got in my car, opened the door, sat myself, buckled my seatbelt, And then on top of that, I'm like, baby, let's go get some food because I was really, really hungry. And sometimes going through chemo the first time, like I would crave fish or I would crave bread or I would crave something. It was weird. The first time I did Fury, I craved a lot of carbs and just like bread for whatever reason. And right afterwards, I was like, let's go get some food. And like, I couldn't believe it. Like, usually I come straight home, get in bed, and just pass out until like the next day. And I went and me and her got food at Potbelly, which is amazing sandwiches here in Louisville, Kentucky. Had a good meal. Like, I'm not super talkative, because I'm wore down. Like, I could feel myself, my body, like telling me that I need to go to sleep. But yet I kept fighting it because I know from the previous non-treatments that I don't want it to change my like sleeping at nights, or I'm sorry, sleeping during the day and waking up at nights because it throws you off. Usually when I come home, I would immediately just go to sleep and then I kind of wake up when everybody else is going to bed. And then I would be up while they're sleeping and it would just throw everything off. And that was another goal of mine, was to stay awake until pretty much everybody is ready to go to sleep. Um, like all of these bright when I came home, I opened the blinds, I kept the lights on. I didn't want to go into hibernation mode, and it worked. Like I took a couple small 15-20 minute naps here and there. I just turned on the TV. I turned on James Bond. I love James Bond. Daniel Craig used to not like him. His first like one, I was like, my goodness, why they pick him? But then he grew on me. Now I love Daniel Craig. And I watched James Bond, and then I would catch myself like passing out for 15-20 minutes, waking back up, watch, more James Bond. And I did that for days, for a couple days at least. But the main thing is like I got through the 10th round, second time of Fury, and it literally was the best experience having chemo pumped into my body because of my perspective. So I wanted just to share this podcast with everybody in the terms of like how you look at this world, this life, your obstacles. Like I've had a lot of, we all have had things, challenging things, good things, bad things that come about, and how you look at it and how you respond to it is everything. And I don't want to say I'm looking forward to the next chemo treatment, but I know that I'm going to be doing the same thing. And I know that if I do it once, I can do it again because it was just mental for me, where all bad experience from a chemo standpoint. So I really wanted to psych myself up, and it worked, and it made it where it was such, I don't want to say a good experience, but it was the best experience thus far. Um, so I now train salespeople, and I firmly believe that most salespeople and dealerships, managers, they put like a ceiling on themselves, meaning their perspective. We can't get past this because we never got this. We've never done that. Like just whatever, it's hard for me to get to 30 cars. It's hard for me to get to 20 cars. I need to get to double digits. I want to get to 50 cars, whatever it is. We put limitations and perspectives on our life so much that truly just hold us down. And you have to truly change your perspective if you want to reach the next level, if you want to have a better life. Like I wanted to have a better chemo treatment experience, and it worked. And will I ever go back to doing, the previous nine where I just dreaded it? No, I'm gonna race there the next time. I'm gonna have the same goals. I'm gonna leave the door open, the lights on. I put on ESPN just to have background noise because I love sports. But then I'm gonna keep working, and I'm gonna walk out to the car. I'm gonna get in the car by myself. I'm gonna go get some food, hopefully afterwards, because like it's just sucking every ounce of happiness out of your body. So the more food you give it, so I believe it just kind of it goes. And that's why it's very dehydrating. So you gotta, like, I drink a lot of Gatorades, a lot of water. So just please understand, like my favorite um one of my favorite messages of all time was Jim Valvano. He coached NC State, NCAA basketball, won a championship, and he was giving a speech, and I'll never forget it because it was just so impactful. He was like, "Don't ever give up. Don't give up. Don't ever give up." And it's true. So wherever you are right now, listening to this, watching this, don't ever give up. Change your perspective. Even if things are going like completely wrong, think positive. Change your perspective. Think positive. Just keep going. Live to fight another day. Um, you know, One of the greatest blessings that I've ever done in my entire life, and I'm 42, was getting diagnosed with cancer for the second time. Because, and you're probably thinking, what? Like it truly made me, it's going to sound weird, but it's true. And that is like when I left working inside a dealership because I found out that I had cancer and I felt like I had a calling. As weird as that sounds, like God didn't talk to me. Don't, I'm not saying that, but it felt like something was just like, do this. This is the path. And because of me listening to that, I took the biggest gamble of me and my family's life, walking away from making very good money running a dealership, to starting a sales training company that has no income coming in. Um, Gambling when I have two small daughters, we have bills just like anybody. Um, you know, I took the biggest gamble of my entire life while I was fighting for my life, meaning having cancer for the second time. And, I asked, I'm not, I react fast, but yet again, I'm also methodical. I asked some people, like, what do you think about doing this? Or like, most people told me to like, stay at the dealership, play it safe, keep making that good money, and while you're battling cancer. And then when you get done with cancer, then start your company. Um, but I took the biggest gamble and it's been paying off in such a huge way. Um, I started a sales training company one time and then I found out that I had cancer and I gave it up. And then I worked at a dealership for roughly speaking, almost 2 years, and I didn't get back into the sales training, in which it's truly a passion of mine because I was lucky enough to have a mentor teach me everything that I know. And me personally, I know deep down inside, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be here with my wife, my kids, with everything around me today. I would not be the person who I am without my mentor. So that's why I want to mentor people and I want to teach people. um, you know, it's so gratifying watching students start, like Chase Morris selling 12, 13, 14 cars. Last month he did 32. He was tracking 39 cars at the beginning of the month, but then because he did very good the last few months selling cars, he won a contest to go to Vegas for a week. So he was tracking 39. Now he's still tracking, roughly speaking, about 30 cars, and he took off a week. And then he came back and he was sick a couple of days. So, and I can go on and on and on about success stories, but that's that's so impactful, getting messages and saying that you changed his life and his family's life. And it's I felt like I had a calling and I made the biggest gamble in my entire life while battling for basically for my life. And it's amazing how good and how great God is. Like, trust your, like, again, he didn't talk to me. Not saying that, but like literally, like there was like something in me that was basically talking to me that wasn't me, that was like, do this. And I am so thankful that I listened to myself. So just wanted to make this podcast. I know it's a shorter one. It's, only 25 minutes or so, but I just wanted to make this podcast, and it was mainly about sharing my experience with this 10th round of chemo, but also how the perspective truly changed it. And I'll never go back to going the old me, dreading going to the doctor's office to get chemo again. I actually did it on Thursday this week, and Friday I was up and moving. I wasn't myself, but I was up and moving. Saturday I was up and moving. Sunday I actually did 3 training sessions with my students. and all of them, one of them was a brand new one, week one. And then I did some other training sessions. So half of the day was literally me working, and my brain was sharp. When other times it took me a week, week and a half, 2 weeks, and now it was literally a matter of a few days. So your perspective is everything. The ceiling that you put on yourself is everything. So many people just don't believe that they can live a better life because they've never tasted it. And I'm here to share with you that you can have anything in this entire world if you truly, set your mind to it and then work it. You got to believe it and then you got to work it. You got to plan it too. But, I can go on and on and on. But the main, reason behind this podcast was just your perspective. Please change it. Please look at everything in a good perspective. We all know individuals that, the glass is half empty versus some people the glass is half full. I've always been the glass is half full, but yet again, when it was going through chemo, it was always negative, and it crushed me. And I'll never do it again the opposite way. The old Brent is back in the terms of like battling it head on. Like I remember something that I've heard a long, long time ago, and I know it's true, is like Buffalo, when the storm's coming, they charge towards it, right? Because they want to head it head on. And that's what I did this time, and it worked. So please, if you know anybody battling cancer, please share this with them if they're having a rough time with chemo. Anybody that is having a rough time in their life right now, please share this with them because there is light at the end of the tunnel. Don't give up. Don't ever give up, just like Jim Valvano said. I know me personally, I'll never give up. Keep fighting. Got a beautiful family, two small daughters. Very blessed. I say every day is a blessing. I've said it for 23 years now, and it's true. So count your lucky stars. When you get up every day, you have another day. Don't waste any heartbeats. You only have so many of those left until it's after, it's gone. So count your lucky stars, count your blessings every day. Highly recommend going to church, finding the Lord. But just wanted to make this podcast. If anybody wants to reach out battling cancer, you can reach out to me, message me. I've created a lot of contacts with people battling cancer since my first time, and I've built a lot of good, strong relationships with those individuals. Anybody that is just having a rough time in their life right now, you can reach out to me too. I'm a very good listener. If you are a salesperson and you would like to take your game to the next level, that is what I love. Like with a passion, I can talk about sales all day long. So just wanted to make this video. Thank you for everybody that has watched it, that has listened to it. And I sincerely mean that from the bottom of my heart. So I love you all. God bless. And something that I love saying is believe in yourself because I do. Have a great day.